people don't believe the institution of marriage so much anymore.
At every point in time, there have also been other kinds of relationships. So they might be open relationship, non-monogamous relationships, heterosexual relationships, homosexual relationships, right? So there is no one size fits all.
Is this relationship only about sex?
I think every relationship that people indulge in is beyond sex to a certain extent.
But it's also the millennials and the Gen X who are moving towards open relationships.
Well, I don't think it's a question just about my opinion.
Do you think it is fair to expect one partner to fulfill your physical, emotional, sexual, and maybe even an intellectual need?
There is evidence which says that it's fairly unhealthy to expect one partner to meet all your needs, right? It's like, I'm going to go on a diet, but I'm only going to eat one food group.
Welcome to The Pleasure Principle. This is your safe space where we talk about everything that matters to you. It is where we explore the science, the soul, and sass of intimacy. With me is Dr. Mansi. It's such a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure to be here, Jyotika.
Dr. Mansi is a practicing psychiatrist. She has an experience of over 10 years, and today we're going to talk about something that can be a little controversial. And because I'm a little old school, I still find it difficult to believe that people are in open relationships. So today we're going to talk about monogamy and what are the reasons that people walk away from it. But I want to start by asking you, are there cases where you have met couples who are in open relationships?
Yes, quite a few. So, we are seeing more and more people, especially if they're in long distance relationship or they're exploring their sexuality and are not ready for a committed relationship, who want to kind of explore open relationships. And most of the times it is with the consent of the partner, but sometimes we have seen it lead to conflict between partners when one partner is not on board. After being in a committed relationship, one partner says, I want to kind of explore open relationships, and the other partner is not on board. So we also do see conflicts between couples because of the same.
So let's start with this. Let's get down to the basics. What is monogamy?
So monogamy is nothing but it's like an unspoken agreement between two people that they're going to be physically and emotionally intimate with just one partner, that is themselves. And it's more of a cultural norm that we have seen for a while, but there are relationships of all different kinds out there and things are changing gradually.
Dr. Mansi, we've spoken about this earlier as well, but is this relationship only about sex, or it also extends to emotional connection as well?
I think every relationship that people indulge in is beyond sex to a certain extent. So even when you talk about monogamous or non-monogamous relationships, it need not be only about sex. The definition of monogamy is very different. Like we said, that it can be either emotionally or as well as physically intimate, right? So a lot of people will say that, okay, you have to be emotionally intimate with me. I'm going to consider that as our monogamous relationship. But due to certain circumstances or due to certain unavoidable reasons, if you are physically intimate with someone else, that's okay. But more often than not, conventionally, monogamy does refer to being physically and emotionally intimate with just one person. But yes, fine-tuning with different couples does happen.
So this is my favorite part because I like to put you in a spot. I want to understand from you, do humans really need to be exclusive, or have we been conditioned to believe that no, you need to be only with one partner?
So there's evidence for both. You need to understand that most concepts about relationships, be it marriage, be it monogamy, all of these are social constructs. So there is evidence for saying that humans have been in a pair bond for a very long time, but at every point in time, there have also been other kinds of relationships. So they might be open relationship, non-monogamous relationships, heterosexual relationships, homosexual relationships, right? So there is no one size fits all in society, but more or less, yes, the cultural norm does dictate how we kind of perceive what we see growing up while we are growing up, that this is normal for us. So that does affect.
So are you saying that inherently humans have the capacity to love just one person emotionally and sexually?
They do. It's a very personal thing. See, it's not a rule that people follow, but it's also something that's a combination of what has been ingrained into us while we are growing up. A lot of people see this as a moral and a spiritual choice that they're going to be in a monogamous relationship. Having said that, not being in a monogamous relationship does not make it anything, that is wrong or not acceptable, provided it's done with the the consent of your partner, both the partners are on the same page, and no one is hurting each other over here, then yes, everything is possible. Non-monogamous relationships also do exist in society.
And of course, that debate comes in that we are one of the very few species who choose to be monogamous. Most animals are not monogamous.
That is true, but it's also the other way around. There are quite a lot of species in nature which kind of, pair for life or mate for life. So yes, evidence for both exists, and I don't think that we can always apply what we are having with other species to human species, because we are, physically and culturally so much more different and evolved, right? We live in a society, we have a frontal lobe which is much more developed, so our reasoning powers, our analytical powers are much more different compared to other animals.
Right. So, you mentioned that you've met a few couples who are in open relationships and they're going through their own challenges. But, it's interesting because not just the Gen Zs who we like to put all the blame on most of the times, but it's also the millennials and the Gen X who are moving towards open relationships. So, in your practice, have you seen more couples come to you and say that they want to explore it or they have explored it? And if yes, then what is bringing this shift?
So a lot of couples approach, at different stages in their relationship. So sometimes people are just individually approaching when they are exploring their sexuality, saying that, okay, I don't know if I want to be in a committed relationship and I'm thinking of an open relationship. How do I break it to my partner, right? Sometimes partners or couples come together saying that, okay, one of us is feeling that we need to be in an open relationship and we don't know how to navigate it, because when we started dating each other or committing to each other, we never thought we would be at this point where we want to be in open relationships. And sometimes we've also had partners who've been in an open relationship in the past and are now coming saying that, at that point they were not very certain and they consented to it, but now they feel that, the consent was slightly coerced or manipulated, and the sense of betrayal that, okay, my partner kind of cheated on me. So how do I move past it? Because I know that I was okay with it in that point of time, I'm not being okay with it now. So couples approach us for therapy, for help, for navigating these complicated situations at all points in time. Probably one of the reasons why couples are moving away from, conventional monogamous relationships or committed marriages is because things are evolving. The concept of marriage is being questioned a lot, that, okay, why is it necessary? Especially because of the unequal gender roles we see in society's advantages to one gender and not so advantages to the other gender. So that is why I think a lot of people want to explore different lifestyles, want to explore different kinds of relationships before they commit to anyone, or, they want to find out what's the best fit for them. Probably.
So I just want to ask you a question where I want to know your opinion on something. Do you think it is fair to expect one partner to fulfill your physical, emotional, sexual, and maybe even an intellectual need?
Well, I don't think it's a question just about my opinion. There is evidence which says that it's fairly unhealthy to expect one partner to meet all your needs, right? It's like, I'm going to go on a diet, but I'm only going to eat one food group. It's as unhealthy as that, right? So most healthy couples we see that will prioritize each other's needs and fulfill most of each other's needs. But more often than not, in healthy relationships, we see couple depending on friends, family members, and other people, and sometimes even themselves exploring certain things by themselves. So your partner need not be a source of everything or all your happiness and all your fulfillment.
So how does jealousy and insecurity come into the picture, and how to handle that?
So jealousy or insecurity usually comes into the picture in monogamous relationships when we are feeling that, my partner is being more attentive towards someone else or is receiving a lot of attention from someone else, or I'm afraid of my partner cheating on me, right? Or even may not be physically cheating, it might just be even emotionally cheating, that my partner is kind of flirting with somebody else. So in monogamous relationship, this is a dynamic which we see. But even in non-monogamous relationship, jealousy can come into picture when we are feeling that it is an open relationship, but we kind of had certain rules as to how much time we are going to spend with each other or who's going to be your primary partner, but those things have not worked out as we have planned. So I might feel that my partner is paying more attention to the other person, and that might evoke a sense of jealousy or insecurity within me.
Dr. Mansi, we spoke about the changing trends and how people have sort of people don't believe in the institution of marriage so much anymore. So do you think that going forward the relationships are going to be more fluid?
Absolutely. I think that's what is happening, and the change that we are seeing in the younger generations and the urban setups is that people are exploring different kinds of relationships. They don't want to stick to the conventional and just go with it because of a societal norm. They want to see what fits them better, what makes them feel good, and what is the best fit for them. So yes, I think relationships are going to be more fluid.
Okay, talking about fluidity in relationships, I also want to bring in live-in relationships here. How does that work, and what is the best possible way to go about it?
So living relationships or cohabitation is something that allows you to explore how living together is going to feel, or how a committed relationship might feel to you before actually committing to it, right? At a social or a legal level. So that is something that allows people to get to know each other better and leads the foundation for a better and a healthier relationship. We see often that people who have, not had a live-in relationship, even though they have dated each other for a very long time or have been in committed relationships for a very long time, when they decide to live together, either be it out of marriage or otherwise, face a lot of problems adjusting to each other. So getting to know another person at such an intimate level and adjusting to their rhythms, and them adjusting to your rhythms, makes a lot of difference as to how the relationship functions.
Dr. Mansi, I want to conclude by asking you, how can couples, whether married to each other or in long-term relationships or living in together, have honest conversation about the kind of relationship they want and fulfill their desires and live a wholesome life?
So the ideal thing would be to first explore as to what you are feeling before you have a conversation with your partner. Be sure of what is it that you are thinking and what is it that you want. Having an open conversation always involves being respectful to your partner as well. So let's say when you are trying to bring this topic up, prep them, ask them that, this is something that they want to talk about. Do they have the mind space, brain space to do this, the emotional bandwidth to kind of commit to this kind of a conversation? Following which, try and not be defensive or critical if your partner is not understanding your point of view. You need to kind of give them space to kind of come around if they are not completely prepared for this kind of a question or this kind of an equation, right? Having said that, from the other partner, we also expect a sense of empathy that, okay, this is not about me. If my partner is wanting to explore an open relationship, maybe that's their choice and it does not reflect anything upon me, because more often than not, we'll see partners feeling inadequate that, oh, you want to be in an open relationship. Does that mean I am lacking in something? So understanding that, no, this is not about you. This is about exploring their identity and being true to themselves. So that is something that can allow us to have a good conversation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mansi. This has
Most
been
welcome.
very insightful. And it's always great to remember at the end of the day that pleasure, relationships, and happiness is not a one-size-fits-all. It's a gray area. And the only way to navigate through is when you talk to your partner, keep it respectful, and try and make it constructive. Thank you so much for watching.
94.3 Radio 1.